Let's see if we can do this.
I'm gonna take one of your cards.
Yeah, totally cool.
Watch, you're at CES, so just totally.
Oh, totally.
You need one.
Yeah. I needed one more, Rhett. Come on. Don't take the last one. All right. The light is green. I don't have a preview tonight, but according to YouTube, we are live. Welcome to Talking Heads on Craft Computing, episode 13. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Rhett.
And this is Zeke. Zeke showed up on my doorstep literally yesterday morning. We're hoping he's a lost puppy. We're hoping that's best case scenario, but we knocked on all of our neighbors' doors, and no one answered the door, or no one claimed him. I'm pretty sure he's abandoned. So if you're watching the show and you abandoned this dog, shame on you. Seriously, shame on you. We're going to keep him if no one claims him, but we've turned him into quite a few agencies and police department and local animal shelter and all that kind of stuff, and no leads thus far. So yeah, if no one picks him up, we're going to keep him. So yeah, welcome Zeke to the family potentially. All right. Let me see. Hit play here. There we go. Okay, so we are live.
Oh boy.
Awesome. Cool. God, I heard the plague hit your house too.
Oh god. Yeah, well, it hit me at least very suddenly. Like, I went from feeling great to just bedridden in less than an hour, maybe 90 minutes. It was god awful. I was bedridden for 2 days straight. Finally managed to get up and lost my voice over the weekend, and then it's like barely coming back. You can kind of hear it.
Yeah.
It's been a nightmare.
Yeah, my whole family was sick for almost the last 2 weeks. I actually did last week's show with John and Steve and Michael with a sinus infection. So yeah, it was. We've been hitting it hard. Got to clean up new and interesting things that I didn't know my daughter was capable of producing on New Year's Eve. So yeah, we're all feeling for the most part better now, which I'm really happy for, because I didn't want to get on a plane with a sinus infection.
Oh god, yeah, and nobody wanted you to either.
Yeah, that would have been terrible. I don't want to be that guy, nor did I want to feel that the pressure building there. So anyway, welcome to the show. Brand new year, first episode of the new year. What are we drinking tonight?
Well, we kind of got a little amalgamation. We got two things here. Absolutely...
Two very different beers.
Yeah. Let's start with the Aunt Sally here.
Okay.
So the Aunt Sally is a dry hopped sour mash ale from Lagunitas. So I figured that this would be a good safe bet.
Yeah.
And
I got some
Lagunitas, like, you know, it's all reliable.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
When I saw this, I've never had Aunt Sally, but I know a lot of people who have had it and say it's great. Yep. So my brother's drinking literally everything from Lagunitas, and
yeah, I've had a lot of their stuff. Their IPA is a favorite of mine.
Oh god.
There's no offense to Lagunitas. There's not like a spectacular beer that they have. Like I wouldn't rate anything like a 4.8 out of 5, but consistently just. Oh, I can smell that already. Consistently just good. They're a fantastic brewery, Petaluma, California. This is a dry hop sour mash ale. It's a 5.5% if I remember right. Oh, good. Ooh.
Oh, dang, that's good, man. That's really good.
Oh, wow. That is solid.
So, personally, like, what I love, and what sold me was the dry hopped.
Yeah.
Which just adds a certain tartness to it.
Right, a lot of times if you get a sour ale, it's a real fruity boutique at the beginning, and
they
it
wet
kind of
hop
lingers.
it too. Like
Exactly. This has almost a champagne quality right as it hits your tongue, and then you get a lot of those sour notes on the back.
Oh god, yeah, this is
really good.
One of the best sours I've had, probably.
Lagunitas, I take it back. That's a fantastic beer.
That's pretty good.
Cool.
Perfectly drinkable sour.
Do I accept mail from viewers? I am working on that within the next couple of weeks. I've got a couple applications in for P.O. boxes in my area. They're a little scarce. And no offense, but I'm not giving out my home address. I live in kind of a small town, and it'd be very easy to find me if I gave a P.O. box in my hometown or whatnot. So I'm working on getting a P.O. box in either Salem or Kaiser, which are the two closest larger cities to me. So very shortly, stay tuned. I do appreciate any gifts you might want to give me. I'd love some beers from Canada. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, he's gonna send you some. What's the Molson, right? He's gonna just send you some Molson, or maybe I'm wrong about that. What's it like? They're like typical Bud type beer. It's like something with an M.
Just their lager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's loving the puppy.
They are. David, first time watching the show. Welcome, David. Welcome.
Somebody earlier at the top was like, "Oh, he's so cute." I was like, "Well, thank you."
Yeah.
It wasn't about me.
They were totally talking about you. Certainly weren't talking about me.
Oh. Why do you think Aunt Sally is the sour? That's what I want to know.
Boy, I don't know. Let's give you a little. Did I switch over there? Yes, I did.
Boy.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, so there's the label for those who want it, and a closer look at the puppy, if you can see underneath there. Yeah, he's quite adorable. But yeah, I don't know why Aunt Sally. Beer names are weird, man.
Yeah, it's totally true.
Yeah. Oh, and as I look over there, I realize I forgot to set up my window capture, so I'm glad I hit that button by mistake.
Look at you rocking the one hand.
That's right. There we go. All right, let's just jump right into our first topic here.
Let's do it.
So the annual Anything You Can Do, I Can Do Better has started.
Yeah.
Usually in TVs, it's people will come out with these insane prototype displays.
I love it.
Just to prove... Literally, it's a dick wagging contest for every TV manufacturer, if I'm being blunt about it.
Oh, yeah.
LG has announced the world's first 88-inch 8K OLED display. I personally cannot wait to see this. Which is the first time I can ever say that. And LG points out in their press release that previously, the largest OLED display in production was 77-inch and only came in at 4K. Only. That's a direct quote. Only came in at 4K.
I love Engadget's cleverness with, can we call it the 888 because 88-inch 8K
right.
OLED?
8-inch.
Call it the 888. That sounds legit.
That's right. Yeah. So anyway, this display will be on display at CES, and I'm curious to see what the responses from some of the other panel manufacturers are, because I know Samsung's always got something out there. Gosh, who's the other big player?
Sony.
Sony. They always try to hit some really weird, obscure feature. Like we're the first with a smart TV in an 8K panel. You know. I know they. I think they were one of the first to introduce HDR in a panel a couple years ago, which was cool. But yeah, Sony's always kind of a wild card because they're always kind of. Maybe they come out with a mainstream feature. Maybe they just say, "Oh, we're the first with face detection."
Right.
Like, who cares, really?
Well, and what's interesting is I always kind of wonder like who Sony caters to as well, because like LG has always sort of been at the cutting edge of TV technology. Mm-hmm. It's like at least as far as like as long as I've been following along, which has only been since like 2010 or whatever. They're always like the highest rated in Consumer Reports and things like that. But Sony, like, you go to the, say, like, video only or Best Buy or whatever.
Yeah.
And Sony's always got, like, the prettiest little Sony corner for their TVs.
Oh, yeah, totally. They have one of the larger retail presences. Them and Samsung are usually the two who I see the giant displays in Walmart and Best Buy and stores like that. So Fry's usually has a pretty big... They've got, like, an entire aisle for Sony.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're. Why are you chewing on my finger? Seriously.
Because he's a cute little pupper.
All right, look at that. Look at that. All right, I'm just showing off.
Shy.
I'm just showing off at this point. Yeah, he's a cutie. So anyway, and he's getting along fine with the other dog, with Ruby. In case anyone was wondering, no one's ever said, "Oh, cute dog for Ruby." I think she's just too big for that
She is
stage.
cute,
She's
though.
adorable.
I think so all the time. She's really sweet-mannered, too.
Yes. Yeah, she listens really well. She's just a sweet dog.
Dogs are crazy, man.
Yeah.
You know, they found the oldest remains of dogs found with human beings was 33,000 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how long that we've been partnered up with these guys.
Yep.
It's like in their genetics now. Like, look at him cuddling
totally.
up to you. He like doesn't know any better.
Yeah. No, exactly. I was telling Rhett before the show started, it's really funny the dynamics between... dogs know the hierarchy in your pack, too.
sense it very
and
quick.
he picked on really quick. Ruby, when she came into the family, she was real meek, real timid. She didn't... she was scared of, like, anything that moved. And eventually she warmed up, and now she knows that I'm kind of the boss in the family, and she follows me around a lot. He picked up immediately that I was the boss in the family. And what's funny is he doesn't take crap from anyone. And in fact, he's been the one chasing Ruby around the house, and chasing my daughters around the house. And anywhere I go, he will follow. And I think he's trying to establish himself as number 2.
Oh.
He knows he's not above me, but he's trying to say, look, I'm buddies with the top guy, and I'm above everyone else. So
cute.
Let's see. Check on the chat here. Waiting for the 666 in that case. Yeah. The 66-inch 6K. I'd take one of those.
Yeah, why not?
I'd take any OLED panel at this point.
Now, did they just like totally just skip 4K, 8K? There's some logical progression there, right? I mean, is it even a 6K even possible, or like?
Oh, it's totally possible. It's just what are your resolution standards at? And
right. That
so
makes sense.
yeah, 6K. I don't know if I know there's a 5K standard. But I don't know about 6K. I'd have to go back and look at the IEEE specs. So I think I'm going to skip we know that the Intel chip is coming with Radeon graphics on board. We know this one is coming. This showed up on Intel's page, I believe, yesterday. An overclockable i7 mobile SKU with a 3.1 gigahertz base, 100 watt TDP with RX Vega on board. We know it's coming. I'm hoping to hear more shortly. I think we're just going to kind of gloss over this one. This one right here. Here we go. This is one of the other bigger stories. So, wife's coming to take the dog. So
say bye, Zeke.
Say bye, Zeke. Here we go. One last look. Say bye, Zeke.
Oh my God, he's cute.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. All right. So this one was kind of an interesting bug that cropped its way up to the news circle today. I don't know if you remember the bug from about a month ago that you could bypass user authentication elevation in OS X, or macOS as they call it now, by typing in root and hitting enter a couple times. Total security fail. Yeah, that was one that cropped up a couple weeks ago. This is a new bug. This is not the same bug we talked about that you could up authenticate yourself to root on macOS. This is a new bug that allows you to up authenticate yourself to macOS. A little bit different in this one. It does require local access to a machine. You cannot remote execute this bug. That's the good news. It was also... The reason this is kind of bigger news is this guy didn't bother going through Apple. He just dropped the 0-day bug. Open source, here you go, internet, do what you will with it. Because Apple doesn't have a bounty program on macOS.
Right.
They pay out for bugs on Apple TV. They pay out for bugs on iOS, for their iPads and iPhones. They do not pay out bounties for macOS vulnerabilities. So... if you have macOS, like I'm running here, you're vulnerable today to local attacks. Basically, all you need is you need to be able to force a logout of the user that is currently logged in. So if you've logged in as a user, you can get on the machine, force a logout, which means either force a restart or force a shutdown. And then you can re-elevate that user to root and have full access to the machine. So
It's been around since at least 2002.
That was the big news as well. Is this bug has existed since the release of macOS 10 or OS X, and actually could predate it by up to a decade, going back to the Next OS days.
Oh my god!
From Next Computing, Steve Jobs' brainchild while he was off founding Pixar. Yeah. So that's a pretty big bug. That's one that's been around forever, and one that won't be patched for any Mac computer that's still running, I don't know, macOS 10.9. It won't be patched. So, yeah, that one's going back a little while.
Dang, that is big.
So, we're going to get to the big story right now. This is the one that's really been... I need to catch up with you, man. I was one-handed for a while.
I was doing the drinking. So.
Yeah, exactly. Need what?
Chew toy.
Oh.
Well, our producer is in the studio right now.
That's right.
News.
Had to hand off a chew toy. There we go. Back to you. All right. That is a good sour. Oh, man. All right. This is the big news of the day. This is the one that I teased with on Twitter and Facebook. This is the one that I teased on the live show. It's probably in the title there. There was a bug announced today to the public that there's been a vulnerability discovered in Intel CPUs that, and I'll get into what the vulnerability is. I'm going to talk about the fix first, because that's what's actually causing the big news. The fix, rather, the bug applies to all operating systems indiscriminately. Any system running an Intel chip, or actually an ARM processor as well, is vulnerable to this vulnerability. The fix is a software-only fix because the exploit exists at the hardware level, relating to the layer 2, layer 3 cache and virtual memory addressing by the CPU. The fix is software-only and can create up to a 30% overhead depending on the task that you're using. Pretty big news. pretty big blow. And of course...
That's crazy.
And of course, any PC enthusiast heard this news, up to 30% slowdown in your Intel CPU. And they collectively lost their minds. I'm here to tell you, slow down, pump the brakes. Pump the brakes, don't freak out. Don't sell your 8700K unless you want to sell it to me. I'll give you like $100 if you want to. If you want to just bail on Z370.
All to Jeff, yeah.
You know, actually, do you remember back the Samsung 840 Evo drives? I don't know if you remember.
Right.
There was a story that trim doesn't work on these drives and they'll slowly just tear themselves apart. And so people just unloaded their Samsung 840s. I picked two of those up for $100 a piece, 1 terabyte drives for $100 a piece, like 3 years ago because of that. Now the story on those was,
are these the SSDs?
These are SSDs.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so I paid $200 for 2 1 terabyte SSDs.
Wow.
The vulnerability there was that on certain versions of the Linux kernel, and by the way, by the time this was announced, it had already been patched in the Linux kernel, but trim wasn't supported. That was it. But of course, the gaming community lost their minds and everyone sold their Samsung 840s. That's kind of the reaction that's happening here. I mean, there's some crossover there. What this vulnerability is it relates to virtual computing. It relates to if you're running a virtual machine, and this is really going to screw with enterprise customers, data centers, cloud-hosted services, Amazon Web Services, really, really big players in this game. That if you host a virtual machine and you're selling that virtual machine space off, so say I've got an E5 2699 V4, a top-of-the-line Intel 22-core processor as a virtual machine host, and I'm going to sell this guy a virtual machine with 2 processor cores. Normally, the L2 and L3 cache, as well as the virtual memory for the low-level kernel operations, are shared among all those virtual cores. So if I give 2 cores to this guy and 2 cores to this guy and 4 cores to this guy, they're sharing that low-level cache. There's been an exploit discovered in the hardware that allows a user to inject code into that to create a page fault that they can then read any memory that's in the virtual memory. So you could possibly read memory from one virtual machine to another virtual machine. Huge security exploit. I mean, that if you want to talk about web security services and any encrypted traffic going through it, there's a chance they could read the handshake that's happening. There's a chance that your data could be lost because someone happens to be renting a one-core web server on the same thing that your bank is renting an Amazon web server on. That's the deal. That's why this is such a big thing. And it cannot be patched with hardware or firmware revisions or anything like that. This is a low-level architecture of the CPU that does this. The software fix is to disable that cache sharing among virtual cores. What that means is on certain workloads, in virtualization and anything using VTD, which is Intel's virtual direct hardware system, there is up to a 30% overload to no longer share that cache. And of course, gamers took this to mean, what do you mean my 8700K is going to be 30% slower? That's bullshit. And yeah, go buy AMD. Woo! Seriously, go buy AMD. My Threadripper's not affected. Just saying. I'm just saying my Threadripper's not affected. And no AMD chip is really affected by this. In reality, I have some numbers that have already been done that show what the numbers are going to be once this is patched in your operating system. I'm not saying there's going to be no performance hit at all. Depending on your task, there will be some performance degradation. If you run a program that requires low-level kernel access, there will be some performance hits. I'd give you my Quadro 4000 if you want. Sweet, I'll take it. Do you take 6700 HQs? Sure.
Gotta get that mailbox set up.
That's right. If you guys want to send me parts, I'd be more than happy to do reviews, builds. I'll drink your beer. Anything you guys want to do, I'm more than happy. I'm all game.
Will you drink their home brewed beer though?
I will drink your home brew beer.
Oh dang! Wow.
I've drank I have drank John's homebrew beer.
Oh God! Well, who hasn't?
John is gonna love that I'm gonna share this story right now. John, I really hope you're watching. Chat if you're watching. Please chat if you're watching. So the day I met John, I invited him over for dinner. He goes, "Hey, you mind if I bring some home brews?" And I said, "Oh, cool. I love beer." And so John comes over and he's got a 6-pack like this of some home bottled homebrew beer, and he poured for me a strawberry ale.
Yeah.
Okay. And so he grabs one of my pint glasses and he pops the cork on it, and he's pouring it, and it kind of gets like this little trickle out, and then it stops pouring. And he's sitting here like this, and he kind of looks at me, kind of nervous, and then he kind of shakes the bottle, and a whole hunk of strawberry falls out into the bottom of the glass, just thunk, and then the whole glass fills with foam. Oh, geez. And so the very first beer that John poured me, which is why I say John gives the best head in Salem, had this much head on it. And a chunk of strawberry floating in the bottom, like rotten strawberry floating in the bottom.
Oh, God.
So
I recorded a podcast once at John's, and he's like, "Okay, guys, like I got to get rid of the beer if I'm going to brew anymore." So
that was the pumpkin beer fest.
I don't remember.
Was that the pumpkin beer one?
He might have had one pumpkin beer, but I remember.
Yeah.
So he had like 8 different beers, and like 5 or 6 of them were all IPAs. But like one of them was like the hoppiest thing I'd ever tasted, and it was like it was so bad I didn't want to.
Time to plug the bathtub. I'm brewing beer.
Heck yeah, man!
Oh, get that prison wine flowing, man.
Oh, God, yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Little Pruno.
You know, hey, alcohol never tastes as sweet as when you make it yourself.
Ooh. I've gone wrong with doing some homebrew before. I've gone wrong with doing some home distill, like home. Yeah.
Freaking corn mash, like
yeah.
Oh.
I tried to make some homebrewed alcohol containing root beer before, and I blew one bottle apart, just blew it up. And the other one was so sour and disgusting. It tastes nothing like sarsaparilla like it should have. We're way off topic.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's some actual performance numbers of what you can expect once this is patched, which I know Windows already has a patch live on the Windows Insider channel. Linux, the beta kernel of I believe it's the 4.12 kernel is out. You can download that now and experiment with this patch. I believe all of these numbers... Oops, wrong button there. Oh, I'm already on there. Cool. I believe all of these numbers were done with Linux, so kind of take that with a grain of salt as it applies to your Windows, but it'll be similar because, again, the hardware architecture is the same. FS Mark 3.3, you can see with an 8700K, there's a significant slowdown, almost a 50% slowdown in performance on that particular benchmark. This is 1,000 files being transferred at 1 megabyte file size. And so it's a pretty significant hit there. On the 6800K, they made a point of saying the 8700K is being tested with an NVMe storage drive. The 6800K, the lower one, is being tested with a SATA SSD. And there is a point of diminishing returns or a bandwidth limit that you don't hit when you're on a SATA drive. So if you look at the... Hold on, let me see if I can display my cursor here so you guys can actually see what I'm pointing at. One sec. Of course it won't let me show the cursor. Dang it. Oh well. The second benchmark of FS Mark 3.3, you can see that the 6800K suffered no performance degradation, while the 8700K suffered, again, almost double the performance loss. As we scroll down, there are some synthetics that show some performance loss. There's some synthetics that don't show any loss at all. X264 encoding was the same on both platforms no matter what you were doing. The same with Time Linux kernel compilation, so actually compiling a Linux kernel distro. FFmpeg, same thing. There was some SQL degradation in performance, and so basically what we're looking at is anything that uses low-level kernel performance or access to the operating system and requires a lot of I/O or IOPS, in-out per second, of your storage disks or any PCIe interface, not including GPUs. GPUs are not included in that I/O overhead. And if I switch over to the gaming benchmarks, again, these are on Linux, but Windows should show some similar numbers. Zero performance degradation whatsoever. Counter-Strike, Deus Ex, Dota 2, Dawn of War, F1, and the Talos Principle, all 100% dead even, within the margin of error.
Yeah.
So all you gamers freaking out, this shouldn't really affect you day-to-day performance. There's going to be some slowdowns depending on your needs. I know one of the overhead hits is going to be NVMe RAID drives. So if you have NVMe and RAID, there will be a performance hit to that.
Yeah.
If you have some other chipset things going on, there could be a performance degradation there. You still shouldn't go out and sell your 8700K or talk about your 7700K like it's a Pentium 2 now. That's just not true. So...
I mean, that's just what happens too, though. Like when you're always like trying to stay kind of at the top of the curve of technology, man. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're going to get bit a little bit.
All right.
And if you've never been bit, then you...
All right. This is an architecture that's existed for at least a decade on Intel chips. So this isn't like just the latest two generations, like KB Lit Coffee. Like this is going back to like Prescott cores, like original Pentium 4 and Pentium D days, and it's unconfirmed, but it may be even further back than that. Again, no one's running those chips anymore, so it doesn't really matter. Not that you're going to notice a 30% slowdown on Pentium 4 today anyway.
Yeah. Plus, if you're a gamer, I'm not sure why you're buying Intel anyways.
I'd totally buy Intel.
Well, I always did too.
My 5820K has faster single-threaded performance when overclocked than my Threadripper.
Oh, dang.
Not by much. It's like 2%. But my 5820K is slightly faster single-threaded than my Threadripper 1900X.
Well, let me put my foot in my mouth.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, I always bought Intel, but I always got dinged a little bit by the other guys.
I've usually been an Intel buyer. In fact, some of the more well-known AMD CPUs I've never bought. I always wanted the AMD 3600 Plus, which was a 754 socket. I never owned one of those. I did have a 4200 X2, which was one of the first AMD dual cores that was on the market. Never had an FX chip. I always wanted an 8350K because I wanted to go, I've got 8 cores!
Right, yeah.
Didn't have 8 cores, didn't matter. Let's see, let's go back and look at some of the chat. What do you think about Hackintoshing? I did it way back when. I ran a Hackintosh. Again, I think we're talking Prescott chip days. Like I had a high-end Pentium 4 Extreme Edition running Hackintosh, and we're talking like OS X 10.5, like Leopard days. I was running a Hackintosh. I hear it's smoother now. There's still a lot of gotchas with driver support or text support. You have to buy specific hardware. There's a huge community. OSX86.org, I believe, is the website. They have a whole wiki on the thing with approved hardware and guaranteed running hardware. Gigabyte is usually the board of choice because they use a lot of standardized drivers, a lot of OEM off-the-shelf components in their boards, which are readily supported on OS X. So I think it's totally doable. I don't necessarily know if I would rely on it for a day in, day out workstation, but as something just as a fun project, sure, go for it. So, yeah, he says he's got a 5820K as well. Wonder if ReactOS would be affected by this problem. Yes, because it's still a Linux kernel at heart. ReactOS is being developed to be able to run Windows executables and run off Windows DLL files, but at heart, it's still a Linux-based kernel, and even then, it's going to run off Windows-based software. So yes, it will be affected by this. Who knows when it will be updated, how the update will work, I don't know. I don't follow ReactOS all that closely. Although I have ran it before and I am aware of it. So, let's see, what else do we have to talk about? Tell you what, why don't you talk about the trends from CES while I finish my beer?
Okay.
I feel like I've been talking for a while.
So yeah, anybody who hasn't heard yet, Jeff next week is going to be in Vegas, giving you guys some CES coverage, and which kind of puts us like on the road to CES 2018 essentially. And I thought it'd be interesting to take a look, kind of at like the trends from 2017. And kind of see, like, kind of what stuck, what didn't, and then take a look at, like, what we got going for 2018. So, obviously, the big thing that I read a lot about 2017 is headline after headline after headline was all about
we
Alexa.
have our own voice assistant!
Yeah. It's all Alexa, all Google Assistant. I think Cortana was...
It was around.
Yeah.
It was around. Microsoft wasn't really pimping it a year ago, though. I think they are now.
Yeah, they are now, yeah.
Or they're trying to.
What are some other, like, virtual assistants? Because I know that there's more, but...
Oh, God.
Siri.
There's the big three. There's Alexis, Cortana, and Siri. And then there's OK Google for that.
I actually am very satisfied with the Google Assistant. Mm-hmm. I just got an Amazon Echo Dot. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've been messing around with it, and it's works very well. But I've become so enmeshed with my Google Assistant, and they do all the same things,
And recently, so have I.
Yeah. Welcome aboard.
Yep.
It's about time, man. I'm always surprised, like when a tinkering man is like, so enmeshed with.
Have you seen what I run down here?
Well, yeah, granted. Yeah. But, so...
I have Cortana disabled. So do I.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I like, I don't know. I don't know. I've messed around with it just to see, like, how effective it is. Mm-hmm. And it seems to work fairly well.
Yeah.
But I just...
My biggest issue is on my Windows desktops, I don't have a always listening microphone on.
Right.
So unless I want to plug in a microphone and set it on my desk somewhere, I don't use it.
Right, exactly.
I have a webcam that's on my Mac. I've got the C920 that's always on here, but not a lot of people outside of headsets have dedicated microphones sitting on their PCs.
Right.
And so I think Microsoft is just by nature fighting an uphill battle there.
Well, and somebody just mentioned it that it's horrible and useless on a PC operating system.
Yeah.
I think that Cortana is mostly geared towards like Windows Phone stuff. I mean, it's the same operating system.
Is that a thing anymore?
I've seen some people bust them out. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like,
I knew one guy ever who, outside of Windows CE when that was a thing, I actually owned a couple of Windows CE phones. I had a Samsung Blackjack and I had an HTC 8100. It was, or 8050 or something like that. It was a slider phone with a full keyboard on it. I had those. But once like Windows Phone 7 was a thing and they went to the Tile, Live Tile, Metro UI, which they can't say anymore. Once they went to the Metro UI, I've known one person ever who has bought a Windows Phone, and he had it for about 3 months and he hated it. And he literally threw it away. And then I think AT&T at one point gave me a free one because I had a third line on my account, and they said, hey, 3G is going away. You have to have a 4G phone. Here, have a free phone just to put it on. No contract, no nothing. Just have a free phone. And it was like a Nokia, I think 710 Windows Phone, and I turned it on and I went, this thing sucks, and I threw it on a shelf, and I think I sold it on eBay a couple months later.
Yeah, it's I've only ever known one person to use a Windows Phone, throughout the phone's entire life, and whether or not they were truly happy, I don't know. I was kind of, I don't want to say while smartphones were in their infancy by any means, but it was kind of like while Android was still getting their feet under them, and Windows was trying to compete and do all that.
I will say before 2007, it was Palm Trio. It was Palm, and that was it. And Windows had always kind of had like a, hey, we have a smartphone. No, you don't. You don't understand what a smartphone should be. And there were a couple other companies that tried it. I know Nokia came out with the Scion interface. And there was a couple others that had tried it.
Well, 2007 iPhone was released, but I don't remember anybody enjoying the iPhone 1.
I know quite a few people who would contradict you in that as well.
Oh, well, never mind.
Yeah, I know a guy who bought the original. I know a couple of guys who had the original iPhone, and while they had problems, they were coming from dumb phones, whereas I was coming from a Palm Trio, and I went, I've had these features for like 4 years.
Yeah.
And why would I give up my physical keyboard?
Yeah, I always thought the same thing. And, but the technology's come along a little ways. I remember the first time I went to, a full touchscreen with the touchscreen keyboard. Mm-hmm. I was a little skeptical at first, but I'm very resistant to like change anyways, Right. So I thought widescreen was a fad.
Yeah.
Widescreens were. When widescreen.
Don't worry, 4K is going to pass you right by.
I know, it already did. Didn't you hear? We're on to 8K now.
That's right. All right, I finally caught up with you.
All right.
Good filler there. So yeah, Amazon, Alexa, and all the AI assistants were kind of the talk of that. That and RGB everything.
Yeah.
Those were the two things. What all can we put RGB lights into?
Just hilarious.
What else did they list here? TVs are getting super thin, and there's a new video format war brewing. I think that war is going to continue for quite some time. HDR was first in the mainstream consciousness at CES last year. Like people had talked about it before, but last year was the first time that everyone had to come out with an HDR set. And this year, if you don't come out with an 8K set, I believe you're going to be left behind just the same. So I expect a lot of 8K, a lot of HDR, OLED, the newer technologies to start passing even the 4K. I expect IPS to be bigger news this year. Them starting to move away from TN panels in a lot of displays. And one thing I really hope they do with the advent and coming to prominence of VR is they start to work on input lag.
Yeah.
On displays, because every TV inherently has input lag. And I know that was a huge thing with display controllers for Oculus Rift when they were developing it, was, God, any cable that we plug in has 75 milliseconds of lag, just because of the controller board that drives this LCD.
Oh, God, yeah.
And there's been a lot of talk about getting that driven down for VR development, but I'm wondering when that development is going to start pushing its way towards consumer display panels. Yeah. So that's my 2 cents on what I feel is coming just on like a gamer front of things. You know, you plug a console in and they say, oh, we offer 10 millisecond delay on the input versus 50 millisecond delay on our standard TVs, you know. And I know TVs have a gaming mode right now. Even they have like 40 to 50 to 70 millisecond of lag in some cases.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's one thing I kind of hope happens. I'll certainly be checking out some of the TV booths. Live streaming and DVR bundles want to replace cable. It's never going to happen unless you all start to do it.
I think it will happen once some of the dinosaurs start dying off. Mm-hmm. You know, it's already kind of... That was like the big fuss about when Star Trek Discovery was launching. You know, everybody's like, oh, I don't want to get the CBS app or whatever it is. I don't know. I'm
going to pop the cork because I don't want to pull a Bitwit Kyle. I don't know if you guys watch him.
Oh.
There we go. See? That went just a nudge. See, I didn't shoot myself in the face. So, Bitwit, if you need some advice on how to open a corked bottle, look me up. I'll probably see you next week sometime. I don't know Kyle, but I watch it. I watch Awesome Hardware all the time. I've been a fan of his for years. So, Linus did a 16K, and it was kind of shit. Yeah, it was kind of shit, and that's because they had to improvise every single display adapter that they used. They had to use, what was it, 4 Quadro cards with 4 4K outputs each. And it took some doing to get all of them to actually function at 60 hertz.
That looks good.
Oh, that's a good color.
So, real quick, a bit about the beer. I can't remember the actual brewery's name. I guess it's right on here.
It's a difficult name. I'm gonna...
Huyghe. Anyway, they're a Belgian brewer, and they've kind of adopted... Oh,
I'm over here.
They've kind of adopted this this brand called Delirium. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the pink elephant is sort of like the brand thing. And anyways, I discovered these guys actually when I was in Tokyo. And I was on my way where we were staying.
Oh, wow. Pour that beer.
Oh, God.
Oh,
okay.
wow.
Where we were staying, you know, we were just a short walk away from Tokyo's Neon District in Shinjuku. And on the way there, sorry, elbowing you in the face. On the way there,
that's fine. I was smelling the beer.
There was a restaurant called Le Petit Delirium, and it was a Belgian cafe slash restaurant, and they only served, you know, beers brewed by Delirium. And that was like one of my favorite places that we ate and drank. We had a really fun night there.
I gotta say, I am a sucker for a good Belgian, especially a dark Belgian. And oh wow, is that good?
There's something about like traditional European beers, just like done right.
Yes, thick, malty. This has almost like a caramel taste to it, but it's still technically a light beer. It's just a Belgian dark. So it's not a stout or a traditional dark beer.
Yeah, it's not very heavy.
Right.
It's got that rich, full body taste.
Yeah, it's not like a stout that you can cut with a knife. This drinks, it's heavier than an IPA, but it's definitely not a dark beer.
Right. Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, I got excited for it because, you know, of course, anybody from the Mid-Valley over here in Oregon, there is a great beer store over in Salem called Capital Market.
Yes.
And the guy knows his beers, man. He imports tons of stuff, and when I saw that, it was a little spendy, but the only place I've ever found these beers was in Tokyo. So I thought, hey, who cares? Let's have some.
That is fantastic.
That's really good. I read all the reviews and...
Lagunitas, I take it back. This is way better. I'm kidding.
Well, the Lagunitas was a good sour, but this
it's a really good sour. Yeah. Oh, that is good.
They had 3 choices. There was like a red ale, and then what was the other? The other one was like the popular one, the Temmins or something, and it was like a pale ale, a strong pale ale. Yeah,
I like the Belgian pale ales. And I like a good IPA. I like a good India Pale Ale. The Americanized Pale Ales, I hate them. I just something about them. It's usually the hops they use.
Yeah.
Like they don't have that real traditional like punch that I get out of the European and the IPAs, and it just kind of falls flat for me.
I will say the only one that does it for me, and everybody can make fun of me, but the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale is actually, for some reason, the only one that I can tolerate with any, any.
Yeah, Sierra Nevada makes a good one.
It's just like kind of the standard, It's not great, but it's not bad either.
Right, exactly.
By the way, this is like 11%, so.
8.5.
Oh, is it?
8.5. Yep, 8.5.
Oh.
Yeah, I looked at it beforehand.
Okay, that's better than I thought.
Yeah.
Good. Go crazy.
We are going through a pale ale renaissance here in Australia.
Oh.
Nice.
From the land down under.
Yeah, welcome. What time is it over in Australia right now? I have a couple Australian viewers, and they're always irritated that I'm like right in the middle of their workday, so they can't watch the show.
Well, it is tomorrow. I used to play a lot of Dota 2 with Australians.
Yeah, I played with a lot of StarCraft with both Australia and Korea.
Yeah.
Because I was up at like 2 a.m. playing StarCraft, and so they were like just getting off work.
Yeah.
So.
And it's also tomorrow, I think.
Yeah.
Could be wrong.
Oh,
I'm not all of Australia.
Yeah, I believe it's almost Friday there.
There you go.
Yeah, there's something like 20. Just wait till the future. All the kids will be talking about all their 4M monitors. Yeah,
I think it's like the 7th time I've kicked that.
Yeah, that's all right. It's stable enough.
Yeah.
A theme of my channel is best bang for the buck, and I'm gonna go off on a little tangent here because if I'll give you all a tour of my studio eventually. My studio is downstairs in my former den. There's actually a wood stove directly to my left here. But this, like my computers are built with budget in mind for the most part, with the exception of Threadripper. That's really one of the first that I'm going all out and doing a full custom loop in and doing a whole bunch of other stuff. Everything I do is built around budget, and that includes my photo gear. My mic stands are the $10 Guitar Center mic stand specials. The microphones I picked up for, I think I got the pair of them for $50.
Yeah.
Now you tell me as an audio guy.
I have these same microphones.
Yeah.
And I got the combo that's the condenser mic.
Oh, you got the condenser with it.
Well, this condenser with the dynamic, like the whatever. Well, maybe that.
With the shotgun mic.
Yeah. And that was $60, and it came in the same case that you got. I mean, this is personally, I think that these little MXL, 9 whatever they are.
Yeah, they're an MXL 990, and they are fantastic value for the money.
Yeah. This is what I use.
Yeah.
And because it's like the best bang for your buck. And like you said, you picked up at the
2 of them.
2 for $50
for I think $50.
Well, that's a great deal.
Yeah.
So I think I bought one.
Normally they're about $100 a piece.
Yeah, but Guitar Center runs pretty good deals on these. I think I've seen them on Amazon, and I just happened to pick these up when I was testing a bunch of mics for my own podcast, and I ended up sticking with these, man, because they're durable.
Yeah.
I bought another one. I can't remember the brand off the top of my head, but another mic like this.
Yeah, this is the mic, if I can get it over here.
Yeah.
Yep. These are better as like a radio show mic, so something that's up close to you, but they do okay for overhead capture, and that's kind of how I'm using them here.
Yeah.
Best bang for the buck. Am I watching a hunting show now? I do have a 308 Remington 700. If you want me to bring that downstairs, I can put it on the table. I take it apart for you.
That's a gun right there.
Oh yeah, it's a hell of a gun. I just killed half my audience by talking about guns on YouTube, but whatever.
Nah.
It's late in the show. No one's going to watch.
It's fine. What don't we talk about?
That's right.
But yeah, I highly recommend these mics. I mean, I use mine to record music, record my voice, do all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, there's something about, I mean, we're getting way into the weeds here, but there's something about, I think it's more satisfying about scouting out deals and looking up specs and trying to get the most out of every cent. Than, because I grew up with all these people who just had money, so it's like, I'm just going to go for the best.
One thing you'll notice the last 2 weeks, so last week and this week, I'm actually coming to you in 60 FPS right now. Did anyone notice that? No one commented. No one. I'm broadcasting in 60 FPS right now.
It does look like a soap opera.
It does. It totally does. I'm way too smooth. I'm really smooth in real life. You should get to know me. But But anyway, I've got a Canon Vixia HF R600 camcorder that I just picked up to do my coverage on CES, and I'm actually using that AGP Tech HDMI capture card that I did not recommend for live camera capture to actually broadcast. I like the camera quality a little bit better than the C920 that I've been using for a while. There's a little bit of noise on the image, and I'm not happy about that. There's some compression artifacts that I'm not happy about. But again, I'm running at 1080p 60 FPS in a live stream. And the whole setup cost me less than $200. I paid $120 for the camcorder and another $90 for the capture card.
How did you get that for
$120.
Where are you finding all of your deals at? That's what I want to know.
eBay. I got that on eBay. I got the capture card on Amazon. So, tell you what, we'll share my video rig for CES. I've got the HFR 600. That's going to be my primary, my only camera there. This is my video rig. So I've got a light. I've got a powered microphone.
This is the mic you're going with too?
This is the mic I'm going with too. So I can hold it out. I can also flip it around and do selfie shots. So most of my stuff is probably going to be like 2 camera. This is a iCan microphone. Of course, I keep coming off OBS, so it doesn't want to switch cameras. There we go. It's an iCan microphone. That cost me about $70. That's the second most expensive item on the rig. $20 LED light. $25 camera cage. This is an aluminum camera cage. It cost me $25. Came with the handle. And the camera, I have a $200 1080p 60 FPS camera rig with external microphone and light. $200. That's how I'm covering CES. $200.
Heck yeah. And you're going to be doing live, you said?
I'm not going to be doing live. I'm going to be doing it as live as possible. And so I won't be broadcasting live, but I will be recording, and then I have a lot of sessions scheduled. Again, I'm going with the whole crew from Modders Inc., which again, if you haven't checked out their YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/moddersinc1 or modders-inc.com. I've recently started writing articles for them as well as producing video for them. I'll be doing some video for Modders Inc. as well as primarily my own channel. And in between all of our meetings with marketers and vendors and companies and things like that, I'm going to be banging out videos on a laptop as quickly as I can.
That's a good idea.
I'm hoping, and I am nothing if not ambitious, 3 videos a day.
That'd be great.
So that's what I'm hoping to do. So again, stick on this channel. As live as possible coverage from CES.
You got to go ahead and pick, you got to go ahead and pick kind of your things to watch and see how they pan out over the year.
Right. Exactly. So I'm meeting with a number of hardware vendors. I have meetings with NVIDIA, AMD, Intel. I've got meetings with Deepcool, Enermax, AlphaCool, Plexstore, AData. Synology for NAS systems, Cherry for switches and keyboards, a lot of Cooler Master. I think I'm having lunch with Fractal Josh.
Nice.
So that's going to be fun. Stay tuned to the channel. As live as possible coverage. I should be giving just as good a coverage as any other channel. So please give me some views, give me some shares, give me some likes. I know I'm just pimping my own stuff right now.
It ain't going to be just as good. It's going to be better.
It's going to be better. I won't be as drunk. I won't be, well, not that I'm drunk right now, but I won't be drinking as much.
Good save.
At least on camera, I won't be drinking as much. I hear the after parties are lit.
Well, and it is Vegas. So
it is Vegas.
You're encouraged to just walk around with beverages in your hand.
Right. As one of my buddies from Modders Inc. has told me, you will go to these after parties, and one of the marketers will walk up to you and go, "Dude, you need to drink more." And you're like, no, I've had my limit. And he goes, no, I spent $100,000 renting this room. You need to drink more alcohol. So,
well, thank you, sir. Of course I will honor your contribution.
Tell you what, another mojito. Let's go. So, coverage from CES next week.
That's going to be great.
Yeah.
Well, we got like a minute left. Real quick, what if we jump over to the things to watch for 2018? And we'll just blast through this real quick. And we'll see. I want to see how this kind of pans out with what you see. Now, the VR, fading into the background, AR rise to the front. This has always been talked about.
Doubt it.
well, look, for gaming, VR is always going to be on top. But
it will always be the superior system.
We're going to see some interesting developments with AR, and we've talked about it before. Mm-hmm. Like the very first time I was ever on your show way back in the day.
We did a VR heavy episode. Episode 1. So if you want to go back and watch that was a VR heavy episode.
Yeah. And we talked about it on my podcast, so we don't need to go into it too much here. But
Game Dev Quest, look them up.
Thank you.
Yep.
But AR is going to have like practical applications, while VR is going to have like all sorts of entertainment and therapeutic value.
Right.
I don't see VR ever going away, but hopefully people realize the benefit of AR when they're,
right.
Stuff.
If you haven't tried Apple's AR kit, which you're probably in the minority since it requires an iPhone X or an iPhone 8, I believe. It might be available on the 7. Don't quote me. I haven't looked into that much. But Apple has an AR kit available where they do AR projections on your phone. And so you can hold your phone in real space and you can project things onto real images or onto real objects.
Yeah.
And it has some really cool applications. I don't know about gaming applications.
Pokemon Go is like the pinnacle, I think.
Totally.
That's all you're
totally. That's your peak. You have peaked. You're not going any higher. But as far as the gaming forefront, I've tried VR. I've tried real VR. I have an invite to go see Pimax. The 8K headset.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, so I'm going to go check that out. So I'm going to give my impressions of that finally after they've been out they've been on Kickstarter for the better part of a year. I think they got like $4.3 million in funding.
Sweet.
So I'll be hopefully giving a quick like hands-on with Pimax. So if you're interested in that, check it out. AR, I knew this was a gun channel. I actually don't have an AR. I'm ashamed to admit I don't have an AR.
They're overrated in my opinion. They're heavy, cumbersome, they only look coll, and that's it. Right.
I do have an LCR. I have a Ruger LCR 357 Magnum snub nose. I've got an LC9 9mm. I have a Marlin 39A 22 lever action gun. I've got a pre-1963 Winchester 3030.
Nice. That's legit.
Yeah, so I've got some stuff. Oh, I have a Mannlicher Steuer 270 model 1950. Look it up.
Mannlicher
Steuer. It's an everyone laughs at the name. You won't be laughing when you look up the gun. It's a Mannlicher Steuer. It's an Austrian-made gun. It's a model 1950. It's a 270 caliber. Look it up.
Oh.
Look it up. It's a fun gun. All right. Yeah, we're an hour in. I can talk about guns. That's cool. I'm in Oregon. It's expected.
Yeah, it really is.
We're the Texas of the West. Not really.
Yeah, that's like...
Great, I just pissed off the other half of my audience.
We got recreational marijuana here, but it ain't... You gotta be smoking a joint while you shoot your gun.
That's right.
That's your...
Well, how do you do the IPA in one hand and a joint in the other and a gun in the other? I mean, somewhere you gotta set something down, and I just don't know what to do.
Well, you put the joint in your mouth.
Okay. That's right. You three-hand it.
Joint in the mouth, beer in the hand... Gun in the arm.
There we go.
Right in the crook of your arm.
That's right. Anyway, I don't think AR will ever surpass VR. I think it is a parallel technology. Yeah. I think they both have their own merits. As far as gaming, VR is always the way to go. Yeah. I think there's going to be some cool experiences in AR, but I don't think...
I'm excited for AR to...
VR is not going to go away.
I'm excited for AR to catch up to VR.
Yes.
Because there's so many applications.
Yep.
Electric car concepts, sure, that's fine.
Yeah, Tesla Model 3. We got the...
We've already been talking about more HDR
right.
formats.
TVs will adopt more HDR video formats. Yeah, we know.
Great.
Wearables will get serious about health.
They already are.
They market health. I don't think they're serious about health.
Okay, fair enough.
Apple has... And again, not to... I follow a lot of Apple news because a lot of my friends are Apple guys, and I am an Apple guy, kind of. I've never really prescribed to one platform or another. I just use whatever the best tool is available, and sometimes it's Apple. Hate me. Anyway, Apple has recently been rumored to be working on an EKG level heart monitor.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So not just like I have my pulse. That's really cool. But an actual EKG level diagnosis. For me, I have a malignant heart murmur, or benign, not malignant, benign. God, that was the wrong word.
I was gonna say, like, dang, dude,
benign.
that's pretty heavy.
I have a benign heart arrhythmia, where sometimes my heart just goes out of rhythm. I get really nauseous. And I have a, gosh, I don't even remember what it's called at the moment because I've had one too many of these. Basically, my lower valve doesn't close by the time it needs to pump, and my heart backfires on itself once every 4 or 5 beats every once in a while.
Like a tachycardia?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I don't know health.
So, some kind of fibrillation where my valve doesn't close fast enough, and so my heart will pump, and it will pump blood backwards for a split second. Ooh. And it kind of hurts. It doesn't. They said it doesn't cause any serious health issues at this point in my life. I'm perfectly healthy. Otherwise, it has hospitalized me once before. And they said if it ever gets worse, they can go in but I wore an EKG for 30 days, and they monitored the whole time, and they said, yeah, you're probably okay. But it's affected me my entire life. I've blacked out and I've done things like that. But something like an Apple Watch with an EKG level heart monitor, where it's actually measuring your heart rhythm, the actual electrical pulses being generated by your heart. That's a cool thing. That's
gonna be great. That's like one step closer to just wearing your little communicator on your shirt and being, giving your vitals to Dr. Crusher.
That's exactly right. And thank you for saying Crusher, not Bones.
Oh God, screw McCoy, man. It's all about Crusher. McCoy's like got no bedside manner. Like he's the worst. Yeah.
Damn it, Jim! I'm a doctor, I'm a doctor.
Oh man. So, yeah, this could be great actually, and I've seen some interesting kind of trends with like the wearable technology in the last couple of years, like especially like women's specific stuff, like more jewelry based things.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see where it goes. And I was reading last year about the smart underwear. That was pretty funny. But
well, they've already had the smart toys.
Right. Yeah.
And they got in trouble for spying on your habits.
Well, hey, how can they better assist you?
Oh, if we didn't have another 3 paragraphs, that'd be a perfect spot to end.
Google Assistant taking on Alexa, we know that.
They already tried.
I've been using Google Assistant, and like, if it ever gets better than Alexa, I hope it does, because I'm not a huge fan of Amazon personally. But like I said, I got the Echo Dot. It's been performing very well.
Yeah.
I'm still a little attached to my Google Assistant, so I hope that it does continue to get better.
A lot of my family that is slightly older, they for some reason gravitate towards the Amazon Alexa. They gravitate towards that just as I plug it into my home theater system, and I say, play this music, or I say, do this, or hey, what's the weather? They're more inclined to do that just like out in the open in their living room than they are to pick up their cell phone and do it. Right. It's this weird disconnect that they have. And yes, I'm picking on you, and you know exactly who you are.
Yeah.
Because I know you're going to watch my show later. Anyway, they have this disconnect where they don't want to pick up their cell phone and do it. They'd rather just talk to the open air and have it respond.
Yeah.
And that is something that Alexa does better than anything else on the market today.
And what's great about Alexa, I just did this today. You can change Alexa's name, her call name, to computer.
Right.
So I feel like I'm on board the enterprise.
Yes.
But I think that Google Assistant's going to catch up. I don't know. My old man's got a Google Home, and he uses it for his select smart home products, like some lights and things like that. And it works the same. It's just a little bit behind. That's all.
Yep. Anything to get Major Barrett Roddenberry's voice in my home, right. I am all for.
This is like a really loaded title for this heading. PC gaming will be more important than ever. Middle fingers to The Verge for just this one particular.
Right.
As if PUBG is the only game
as if it went away for a while.
You're right. Yeah.
I will say there was a lull in about 2006, 2007.
Well, yeah.
When the Xbox 360 and the PS3 came out, because they were, fight me on this, faster than the equivalent PCs of the day.
Yeah, they were.
And the reason they were is because Microsoft and Sony both took a loss on that hardware. And so for the $300 to $700 for PS3, you got a better gaming experience than you did on PC that day.
For sure. Now, you had 7 cores in that thing.
Right.
Granted, they couldn't develop a title that used all 7 cores, but...
Yep. Now, by 2009, PC had well passed them, and they've been well past them ever since. I mean, a GT 1030 is equivalent to an Xbox, early Xbox One titles. Mm-hmm. That's a $70 graphics card.
Yeah.
You know, and so PC gaming is not going anywhere. It's actually more popular than it's ever been, which is kind of a statement to say. I mean, we're going all the way back to like 1998 days when it was its heyday, when it was kicking the crap out of anything that was on the market.
Well, it's just funny to me. They only cite one game as an example,
right.
and it's like, okay.
PUBG is the most important thing to happen to PC gaming ever.
It's like,
really, the HTC Vive isn't like.
Yeah, I don't know. Whoever wrote this, they clearly have strong feelings about PUBG, but that's fine.
Cody's Lab just uploaded, so you're conflicted. Stay here, damn it! What are you doing looking at Cody's Lab? I watch Cody's Lab too, but I'll watch it when I'm off. So, love you, Cody. I don't know you.
So this is interesting because this is something I've been watching. Well, not necessarily beauty gadgets, but the smart mirror tech is something I've been looking at because I've been interested in making my own smart mirror. You know, I got a couple spare Raspberry Pis laying around.
Okay, I was about to offer one if you didn't.
Oh.
If you didn't.
Well, okay, a couple lying around, maybe one lying.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 13 on my shelf.
Oh my god.
13. Oh, and I've got 7 of the chips, the chip computer projects.
Good God. You're loaded with hardware. That's one of my favorite parts about coming over is just looking at your shelf.
Let's see. Here's a Pi 2 and a Pi 3. Here we go. We'll get the full family out here.
Oh my gosh.
So here's a Raspberry Pi 1. Here's a couple of Pi 1s that I have. I didn't grab the Pi 2 and Pi 3, but I've got those. This is kind of cool. This is the chip project.
I was looking at did we talk about this last time?
I don't think we've ever talked about the chip. This is the chip project. This right here, I think it's chip.net or something like that. Don't quote me on that. God, I know I'm wrong on that.
Just Google chip project.
Anyway, it's a single board processor with 512 megs of RAM, 4 gigs of onboard storage, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth. $9. $9.
I know what I'm doing when I get home.
Again, if you're a tinkerer, go pick one of these up. It's pretty cool. And they have what's called the Pocket Chip, which is a plug-in interface that's kind of like an old Palm Trio kind of looking thing that you can have a pocket version of one of these. So if you ever wanted to build like a Game Boy emulator, done.
Legit.
Yeah.
Legit.
I think the Pocket Chip unit is like $40 and it includes the screen and the controllers and the keyboard and everything else.
Heck yeah.
So like $50 and a battery, you're off and running. Oh, and this has the battery interface and the charger built in as well.
That's legit. I'm gonna have to check that out.
The same LiPo batteries that your cheap Chinese drones, your $50 drones run off. This will run off that 3.7 or 5 volt lithium battery.
Heck yeah.
And then I've got a couple Pi Zeros. I've got lots of stuff that I tinker with.
Yeah.
So
it's good to have stuff on hand though, you know.
He goes, I have a chip, but I have no idea what to do with it. One of my hobbies in the off season, I don't have an off season anymore, is I help run, manage, and design a haunted house locally. And I use the chips for audio in the house. And so when we fire up power to the house every day, these will just automatically start playing whatever soundtrack we want in whatever locations we want. And so that's one of the things I do it with.
Nice.
So
yeah. Well, I've always been interested in making one of these smart mirrors, you know.
Yeah, that was a long way of saying the smart mirror is a cool idea.
It is a cool idea. It is a cool idea, you know. And how cool would it be to have like a little news headline marquee that like takes like some select tweets or whatever and just like strings them across. You got your weather, you got your time, and then your calendar. That's Star Trek level status. I don't care who you are. That's cool.
You walk in front of it and it says, "Hey, sexy."
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then it shows you your weather and your calendar and any current events and your Twitter feeds and any RSS you have or whatever. I mean,
and
all right there.
Someday it's going to be able to just like take a little picture of you and be like, okay, time to get a haircut, asshole. Yeah, whatever it might be. I think this is pretty cool.
You're looking a little shaggy, I'm not going to lie.
Right. I've always thought this is pretty cool. Now, whether or not like it takes hold, you know, I saw that they had some other like big beauty brands like Ulta and Sephora having apps that do, I don't know what they do, I'm not gonna even look it up, but it'd be interesting to see like where that goes because there are possibilities. Don't know what they are, but they're there. So
yep. Cool. Cool. Well, I think that about does it for the week.
Yeah.
Highly doubtful I'm going to be broadcasting live next week, although I'm going to talk to one of the Modders Inc. guys who does some streaming. We might go live and do this show like a 30-minute special one day. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not guaranteeing it. I don't know if it'll be on Wednesday at this time. I don't know when it will be, but I'm going to talk to him and I'm going to see if he's interested in doing that. Throwing down, just kind of saying, hey, what's it like here?
You just have to make sure you subscribe to Craft Computing so that you can get that notification.
That's exactly right. And check out Game Dev's Quest, Rhett's weekly podcast.
Weekly, yeah.
Yep.
We release every Monday morning,
yep.
talking about making games and staying motivated and self-betterment. So.
Yep, exactly. I usually listen to that sometime around Thursday or Friday because, no offense, I usually listen to the Tested podcast first, and that comes out Tuesday mornings.
Oh, yeah, wow.
So it on Tuesday on the drive-in, it's either Tested or it's Game Dev. And
well, if you listen to podcasts...
Adam Savage wins.
Oh, all day. If you ever listen to podcasts, I mean, I have my routine too, and it always starts the same and it always ends the same. So no judgment here.
Yep. So anyway, I will see you all quite a bit next week. So stay tuned to the channel for continuing coverage of CES 2018 live from Vegas, or as live as I possibly can do it. This has been episode 13 of Talking Heads. I'm Jeff. He's Rhett. This has been some really good beer. God, you need to buy this one again.
Oh, I will, for sure.
Oh, it's fantastic. I usually don't repeat any beers on my channel. If you go back and look at my history, I don't think I've repeated a single beer once.
Well, we're going to have to change that.
We may have to repeat this one because it was delicious. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week. And more than likely 2 weeks live show Talking Heads for episode 14. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.